Eta, ladies, gentlemen, and baby birds, and welcome back to the channel. It's your host, Uttapen Dragon, and today I'm going to show you guys how to solo the Steel Path Void Cascade. This video is dedicated to the baby birds that are trying to leave the nest and pursue what I like to look at as the only endgame grind that Warframe offers, and that is Platinum and Fashion. With the Void Cascade being the most consistent platinum farm in the game, and also being among the top 3 most difficult game modes that Warframe offers, I think it's paramount that you know how to run it and what you need in order to succeed. As usual, towards the end of the video, I'll provide you guys with my tip and tricks that I use that make farming and running the Cascade more efficient and less ligma. Now, the Void Cascade is truly a special person. If you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll notice that I'm always talking about it, because truthfully, it's the only mode in Warframe that keeps me busy. Not only is the Cascade the most consistent platinum farm in the game, but it's also the best place to farm the most useful arcanes in the game: Steel Essence, Entranti Lanthorn, Oxium, Voidal Orbs, and Thrax Plasm. And you'll be farming all of these necessities in the least boring way the game has, because the Cascade constantly keeps you mentally stimulated. But just like life, all your happiness is short-lived and comes with a price. In the Cascade, the price is the bugs. The Void Cascade is where all the bugs come from. I can swear that's where DE makes and keeps them. And honestly, the bugs in the Cascade are what make the Cascade infamously difficult. But do not panic. I will show you how to identify and manage them in this video. Now, for the slower people in here, the Cascade is made up of 3 elements: the Exilizers, the Thrax, and the enemies that spawn after you purge the Exilizers. Now, these 3 elements are the main focal point of the Cascade, and each one of them play a crucial role in keeping the Cascade going. The map the Cascade takes place on can be split into 3 sectors, and you'll spend the duration of the Cascade running these sectors endlessly in a loop. The first step is to close the void tears the Exilizer creates, and using your operator amp, you shoot close the void tears. Upon clearing out the void tears, you shoot the little Thrax hologram that appears above the Exilizer, which will then spawn a real Thrax that you have to kill with your warframe and weapons, having it turn into a Thrax Spectre that you will then have to kill using your operator amp, which will conclude the purging of the Exilizer. But that's not all. After capturing the Exilizer, you'll then have to defend it from recapture. Now, in a team of 4 people, these 2 jobs are split into 2 teams. 2 people purge Exilizers, while 2 will stay back and defend them. But this video is here to teach you baby birds how to solo the Cascade. And yes, that means a lot of y'all's baby bird cheeks will be getting clapped. Now, why solo the Cascade? Being among the most difficult and bug-infested modes in the game sounds like a terrible idea, and truthfully it is. But it will not only make you one of the most efficient players in the game, but it will, however, save you countless hours of searching in the recruitment chat for competent teammates. And my god, this task is actually more difficult than the Cascade itself, because 90% of the teammates you'll find are more confused than a senior citizen navigating a smart TV. The other 10% have more problems than your ex-girlfriends. They need a mod booster, they're lagging, their parents don't like them, and the whole 9 yards. So it's best that you, my slow friend, learn how to solo this mode as well. Performing this rather arduous task will require you to have very specific gear and a good amount of equipment. Now, the gear that I'm about to provide you with are personal choices, and I implore you to try and find gear that will best suit you in the process of running the Cascade, even though you lack the ability to think for yourself. Firstly, we have the frame. It's paramount that you have a source of armor strip for the Cascade. At level 4000, the Cascade becomes disturbing, and the Thrax that start to spawn have the most solid armor and overguard that you will encounter in the entire game. It will take a ludicrous amount of effort to break through this without a source of armor strip. Additionally, you will have to have a frame that can survive. The Cascade is not just a single room filled with hallways. It's filled with massive rooms and open spaces, leaving a surplus of room for you to get absolutely obliterated from all directions. The best frame for negating all this absolute facial disgrace will be invisible frames. Who better for this task than Ash? Not only is Ash an invisible frame, but he also comes with his own type of armor strip, equipped with his own augment mod, Seeking Shuriken. Because I know you lack the ability to think for yourself, this is the build that I use on my Ash. I use both Ash's augments, Seeking Shuriken for the armor strip, and Smoke Shadow for the 150% crit chance increase for as long as I'm invisible, which is always. Now, I know you've noticed that I have a helmet on Ash, and as much as I'm ashamed of this and truly despise the helmet system, it proved useful for this specific occasion. I've chosen Banshee's Silence as the helmet ability because of these guys. Regardless of how silent you are, including being invisible, this nutjob's abilities will seek you out, and at a later stage this electrical charge will be your demise. Additionally, I found that not only does Banshee's Silence stun enemies in your vicinity, but it will stop all the abilities that every enemy can do for the duration that they are affected by Banshee's Silence. And by every enemy, I mean even overguarded Eximus units, Thrax and Acolytes. It additionally does something very strange to the Acolytes. Once they are affected, they become almost as confused as you are. They just stand there and do nothing. Keep in mind, they have to remain within the reach of Banshee's Silence and stay affected by the ability. And it will not stun overguarded enemies and Acolytes, but it will only stop them from using their abilities. Banshee's Silence was just perfect for the situation. It provides some rather S-tier crowd control, and it further increases your survivability, because Ash is as squishy as a pair of booty cheeks. In addition to the helmet, I also have 3 Tau Forged Amber Shards for the parkour velocity, because as I said in my Natural Cells video, do not underestimate the effectiveness of parkour velocity. It will greatly increase the speed in which you traverse these maps, especially the ones that have you running around like a nutcase. And trust me, it's absolutely paramount for you to get to the exercises in the other sectors as fast as you can. I also have 2 Tau Forged Azure Shards for an increase to Ash's energy pool, because there's a bug that I'll discuss at the end of the video that will ruin your perfect level cap runs. In addition to your frame, you'll also need a very powerful weapon, and truthfully no other weapons compete with the Incarnate weapons effectiveness in the Cascade. Incarnate weapons are a must-have for the Cascade, and if you don't know where and how to get them, I've made a video about it that you should check out. You see, I told you that it was a lead up to this video. Now, as always, I implore you guys to try out the different Incarnates and find out which ones will work best for you. But in my experience, the ones I enjoyed the most and the ones that were the most effective for me in the Cascade are Fenmore, Felox, Dual Toxicist and Burston Incarnate. As for me, I use the Burston Incarnate, and this is the build that I run on my Burston Incarnate. Now, I know you've noticed my Riven, and usually I would say that it's just a luxury. But truthfully, at level 9k, the Riven is a game changer. As for my secondary, I have my trusty and busty Epitaph, which provides some rather well-needed crowd control. And because I'm running my Burston Incarnate, which has innate heat to it, I've modded my Epitaph for heat and radiation, because heat will scale endlessly if it has a source to scale off. And no, the innate cold procs of the Epitaph will no longer slow down the Thrax Spectres, so the Epitaph was just perfect for the situation. As usual, in the melee slot we have Praetos for utility only, because melee is ass cheeks. Praetos gives you a 30% increase to your parkour velocity and a 20% increase to your speed. Paired with the parkour velocity shots, you'll be absolutely zooming through the Cascade. Now, I would usually say use whatever companion you want, but there's something that you should be aware of. When Ash uses his smokescreen ability, he grants invisibility to his companions as well. And for some deranged reason, your sentinel companions will not attack any enemies or use their abilities while they're invisible. Now, I went for a full crowd control kit for the Cascade, but I had to replace Nautilus for my Moa. This is the Moa build that I have, and this is the components that I used to make the Moa. Not only does he provide some rather S tier crowd control, but the Guardian mod is a must-have for the Cascade, because even though you're invisible, the enemies can still smell what you're stepping in, and you'll constantly be hit with strays. Now, we are going to discuss probably one of the most important pieces of equipment for the Cascade, and that will be your operator amp. Now, I personally use the 177, which is comprised of the Raplak Prism from Kul Onko in Cetus, the Certus Brace and Propa Scaffold from Little Duck in Fortuna. In my opinion, it has the best ammo efficiency and range, and deals the necessary damage you need to one-shot Thrax even at high levels. But it has to be paired with the right damage increase arcanes. Even though this amp is among the most powerful and used in the game, at level 9k, if you don't have both arcane buffs active at the same time, you'll be shooting the Thrax Spectres for a very long time. DE please. Please balance the damage these Thrax Spectres take. God. Now, I personally use Eternal Onslaught and Eternal Eradicate as my arcanes, but ironically enough, you only get these arcanes from the Void Cascade itself. So DE really is the most intelligent people in the room. In addition to your amp, you're going to want to use Madurai as your focus school because of Void Strike and Power Transfer, which will not only assist you in activating both your arcanes, but it also increases your amp damage output. And finally, we have the operators themselves. Usually putting the right arcanes on your operators wouldn't matter too much, but in the Cascade, you're constantly in your operator form, and this boy was not built to take the type of damage the Cascade deals. Now, I use Magus Elevate and Emergent Savior. Magus Elevate is just an additional layer of survivability for Ashe, because as I said, even though you're invisible, you still get punished in the Cascade. And Emergent Savior is a one-shot protection for your operator. And trust me, it's more common in the Cascade than you might think. So now that you baby birds are in the know in terms of what to do and what gear you need, it's time for my tip and tricks that I use that make running the Cascade more efficient and less ligma. Number 1. If you've decided to use Banshee's Silence as a helmet, it's best that you don't have more than 20 meters of range on it, because enemies that are affected by it can however be stunned again if they leave the area of effect and re-enter it. And since you'll constantly be moving around, it truly works as the most effective crowd control. Number 2. In the Cascade, there's a bug in which you get no energy income. And even with a ranked 5 energize, you will constantly find yourself out of energy. And that's why I have 2 Tau Forged Azure Shards on Ashe. But even that doesn't work, so the best way to fix this is to either die and respawn yourself, or just leave the Cascade and re-enter. Alternatively, you should craft and equip energy packs into your gear wheel. But keep in mind, once you're hit with this bug, most of the time it doesn't leave until you reset the Cascade. Number 3. If you're farming Acolytes for Steel Essence and Arcanes, please do not start the Void Angel in the Cascade. It bugs the Acolyte spawns, meaning they will stop spawning entirely. Additionally, if you're farming Steel Essence, do not be a cheapskate and buy a resource booster. It truly is an absolute game changer and will shave off hours from the farm. Number 4. The Exilizers that spawn in each sector is in a constant pattern in a loop. If you're noticing that the Exilizers are spawning in the wrong sector at that given time, leave it and come back when that sector is active again. But because I know you're slow, an example of this is if you're in sector 1 and it's time to move over to sector 2, but the Exilizers start spawning in sector 3 as well. Do not panic. Instead, leave them and focus on the sector 2 Exilizers first. Now, this bug is mainly prevalent when you're running the Cascade solo. The Cascade has a little yellow gauge in the top left hand side of your screen that depicts how high the danger level is. But you can however reduce this level by killing enemies inside the Exilizer dome radius, which is about 20 meters. With killing a lot of enemies in the Exalizer Dome, you can then have 2 Exalizers that are not purged active at any time, and not have the Cascade in a lethal state. Additionally, having more purged Exalizers active than not purged ones will decrease the danger level as well. Number 5. The arcanes that drop from the tracks have a 0.33 drop chance rate. It will however be affected by mod drop chance boosters. The reason to why you should be running this in Steel Path is because the Steel Path mode gives players a 2 times mod drop chance, and paired with a mod drop chance booster you'll get 4 times the drop chance of a mod's base drop chance rate. Without the booster you should average at least 1 arcane for every 6 purge Exalizers. But if you're noticing that the arcanes are not dropping at their rate, you need to leave the Cascade and restart because it is bugged. Number 6. If you're running the Void Cascade with a full team, try not to exit your warframe when an acolyte spawns. You will oftentimes get stuck in your operator form. If this happens, you will have to fully die and revive yourself. You will have to perform the same process if your operator and your warframe cannot shoot its guns after re-entering or exiting your warframe. Number 7. You do not have to enter the Exalizer Dome in order to purge it. You can stand on the outside and shoot the void tiers with your amp, because once you enter the Exalizer Dome, it will stop all your active warframe abilities from affecting the enemies around you. That is why I recommend the 177 amp. It has the necessary range for this task. Number 8. If you want to maximize your platinum farm in this time, it's best that you run the Omnia version of the Steel Path Void Cascade. Not only will you be farming Steel Path Arcanes and Zariman Arcanes, but you'll also be farming Prime Components. Truthfully, I haven't run this mode myself on the fear that the bugs might eat my booty whole alive. But if you run the Omnia version, let me know what the bugs are up to. Number 9. If you want to use Ash as your Void Cascade frame, there are 4 ways that you can obtain him. But the most easiest and less ligma way is to wait for him to become a part choice in the normal circuit, which is currently available right now as of the posting of this video, or just buy him with platinum. Trust me, it is not worth farming him. I know, because I farmed his normal variant, and my god, that was rough. Number 10. If you're running Ash's Seeking Shuriken for the armor strip, if the name is not self-explanatory enough because you're slow, the Shuriken will seek out the enemy that's closest to you. So make sure you're standing right in front of the tracks or aiming right at them in order for the armor strip to work. It sucks, I know, but truthfully it's one of the most convenient armor strips in the game because it only requires 144 ability strength. Now, even with all these tips and gear, the Steel Path Void Cascade can still be extremely unforgiving and challenging. I've seen it go horribly wrong, even with a full squad. At level 2k, the Steel Path bugs and tracks become absolute crackheads, turning your little baby bird cheeks into bongo drums. Now, I'm sure you've noticed that acquiring all this necessary gear will take you a good amount of time. But hey, stop trying to get everything for free and don't be lazy. Even with all this gear, it will still take you a good amount of time to become accustomed to all the dog water the Cascade will throw at you. All this gear and equipment will however be the deciding factor if you'll survive the Cascade or just become a burden to yourself and your teammates. And because the Cascade is so gear intensive and all around taxing, I've seen a rapid decline in its participants. A lot of the players would rather buy the arcanes and make platinum in other ligma ways. But regardless of its unnecessary and relentless negatives, the Cascade will always be, in my opinion, one of the best modes that Warframe offers. It's all around extremely mentally stimulating and worth your time in platinum. And that, my friends, is going to bring us to the end of this video. If you guys have used any other frames, weapons and amps that you have successfully level capped the Cascade with, let us know about it in the comment section below. As usual, in these videos I give you guys the knowledge that I've garnered after all my trials and errors to make your warframe experience less ligma and more efficient. If this video was informative and helpful to you, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. But because I know you're a cheapskate, I just wanted to let you know it's entirely free and it helps me out a ton. If you're as confused as always, let me know what you need in the comment section below and I will reach out to you. But if it's a broader subject that needs more explanation, I'll make a video on it. Look at that, you thought you were nothing but an unwashed ass crack, but you might just be the inspiration for a video. I will be making a Kuva weapon guide next, so turn on your notifications for that. And with that being said, I'll see you all there.